What's going on, guys? Welcome back. More NFL commentary. Please do me a favor, take a moment. Like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter. Shutdown Safety is my username. Wanted to talk about free agency of Ndamukong Suh. This is a guy that I remember coming out of college extremely well because, as many of you know, I was hosting the East Coast Dolphins podcast at that point. And I remember I sat down and I took a really long, hard look at Suh, and I tried to make an assessment of who he would be like. Current, modern, legacy players, and I really couldn't find that one player where you're like, yep, that is the mold of Ndamukong Suh. And here we are. I know it seems like yesterday to myself and a lot of you, but I still find myself sitting down and saying that I can't find that one player that really matches on and off the field Ndamukong Suh. You know, to me, he is the NFL's best defensive tackle. He probably is the best defensive player to hit free agency this decade, and he is going to alter the defense of any team that signs him. You know, Suh's done what very few players can do. He lived up to the billing. You know, he came in with an incredible hype, and his arrival in the NFL always reminded me of what maybe we could have expected in a social media world with Steve Edmond. And while I know, and I'm listening to other podcasts and radio shows, a lot of people like to focus and debate on whether Suh has done this with class or regard or respect. And I understand that when you're looking at the amount of money that he's going to get. But I think one thing we can't debate is he's got the job done. You know, football is a very violent game. Defensive tackle is probably one of the most physical positions, and I think we can see how good of a player he is, which means you know that coaches know that he's capable of being an impact player. He may define an impact player. And I think when you look at teams that would want a player like that, it really makes me question if a coach would go to an owner and say that he doesn't want an impact player because he doubts that he can keep him disciplined or keep him in order. I think doing that would actually have a coach subjected to maybe opening and exposing a weakness. So with all due respect to the other great linemen in the game, say Reggie White, for example, the other intriguing part of this is Suh is going into free agency at or near the top of his game. It's a perfect storm to me. It forces a lot of teams to come to a harsh reality because unlike a lot of other positions, your quarterbacks, your halfbacks, teams really don't firmly commit to a defensive tackle. And you have a lot of teams right now that are going to look in the mirror and they have to assess that Suh is better than what's on the roster. And we're in an upgrade demanding NFL right now. And I think a lot of teams have to understand that they really would like to have a player like this and try to figure out how to get it done. You know, Suh is a rare athlete. He brings really good pass rush from the inside, but he also impacts the running game. And like most great linemen in history, he can beat one-on-one blocks even when he's lined up against all pros. Because of that, he obviously draws double teams a lot. And that really is, to me, when he does the most damage. And that's really not something that shows up on a stat column. You have to watch film to understand that. You know, there's times where Suh gets double teamed and he is not moved. You know, at this point, you have to understand he's occupying two linemen. He's preventing one from getting to the second level. He's fixing the line of scrimmage. He's destroying the timing of a play. And that's invaluable to an NFL team. That discounts also the times that he'll beat a double team on his own and go make the play himself. So the interesting scenario is I think a lot of players, offensively and defensively, understand the benefit of having a player like Suh. I don't think it's out of the question that you could have starters, you know, maybe try to restructure a deal to free up some cap room. Teams try to cut some players they might normally wouldn't to free up cap room. But also, I think something a lot of people aren't talking about is the cap should increase in the next 2 to 3 seasons, which means you could ease this deal by just a mild backload. So it opens the market up to a lot more teams than you normally would expect. I think a few things we can talk about in certainty is that his deal is going to command probably $60 million guaranteed over 5 to 6 years, which means unless things deteriorated quickly, and I know a lot of people like to draw the comparison to Albert Haynesworth, but I don't know if those people watch a lot of football because Haynesworth really had like one stellar year. And albeit Suh hasn't had that one stellar year like Haynesworth did, Suh has proved over the past handful of seasons that he can play at a high level, and I don't think Haynesworth ever did that. So unless things deteriorate quickly, it's possible we could look at Suh only playing for 2 teams. But he will definitely instantly bring a fire and legitimize a defense, probably entice other defensive players to sign, and that's something that's invaluable in and of itself. So whether your team is involved or not, and like I said, it should be no matter what team it is, in signing Suh, I'd love to know your opinions on it. Appreciate you checking the video out. I'll be back in the week with more content.